Welcome back to Courtroom Conversations on the Classic Courtroom YouTube channel. I'm Dylan Brooks Hamilton, and I'm joined by Susan Kelly Ashford.
Hi, everybody.
If you're just tuning in for the first time, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with our deep dives into some truly fascinating legal cases.
Today,
we're diving into a case that's both heartbreaking and unsettling. The death of Celinda Levno, a veteran American Airlines flight attendant killed during a layover in Denver.
Oh, wow.
We're pulling from a recent Fox News article by Stephen E. Price, published on January 13th, 2025. So this is a developing story, and we'll unpack what we know so far.
This is a case that just, it really hits on fear we all have, I think. That fear of random violence.
Absolutely.
Being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It really makes you think about personal safety and vulnerability.
And Celinda wasn't just any flight attendant. She had dedicated her life to this profession, starting back in 1989 with America West. She saw the airline industry evolve through mergers with U.S. Airways and ultimately American Airlines. She was 71 years old.
Wow.
And still flying. I think it speaks to her dedication. But it also makes this loss even more tragic.
It really does. It's just a stark reminder that tragedy can strike anyone.
Right.
Anywhere. At any time. And in this case, it happened during what should have been a routine layover.
Right.
It's important to clarify for our listeners, when we talk about a layover, we mean the time flight attendants spend in a city between flights. Sometimes, airlines provide a layover hotel for their crews to rest. But in this instance, Celinda wasn't at the hotel when the attack occurred. It happened on Saturday evening elsewhere in the city.
And tragically, she wasn't the only victim. There were two others.
Yeah.
And sadly, one of them didn't survive. This wasn't a targeted attack on Celinda. It appears to have been random, with no known connection between the victims and the attacker.
That randomness is what makes this case so unsettling, you know? It challenges our perception of safety. It makes us question how we can protect ourselves from such unpredictable acts of violence. And the fact that the motive remains unknown only adds to the mystery and fear surrounding this case.
Speaking of the suspect, 24-year-old Elijah Caudill is now in custody, facing extremely serious charges, first-degree murder and attempted murder. He's currently being held without bail, which means the court considers him a potential flight risk or a danger to the community.
The severity of these charges really reflects the gravity of the situation and the potential consequences he faces if convicted. It's worth noting that first-degree murder implies premeditation, a planned act, while attempted murder refers to actions intended to kill, but that did not result in death. These distinctions are crucial in legal proceedings.
It's hard to imagine what could lead someone to commit such a violent act against individuals they seemingly didn't even know. And while we don't know the specific details of the attack, the Fox News article mentions that Celinda was found with stab wounds to her neck.
Oh.
This detail, along with the other victims being injured, suggests a sudden and brutal attack.
The choice of weapon, a knife in this case, often indicates a more personal and intimate form of violence, compared to, say, a firearm. It raises questions about the attacker's state of mind and the level of rage or desperation that might have been involved.
It's all incredibly disturbing. And what makes this case even more heartbreaking is the impact on Celinda's family and colleagues. The Association of Professional Flight Attendants, the union representing American Airlines flight attendants, has stepped up to provide support and has even started relocating crews on layover in Denver to ensure their safety.
Their response highlights the ripple effects of such a tragedy. It's not just about the individuals directly involved. It affects their loved ones, their colleagues, and even the wider community. It creates a sense of fear and vulnerability that can be hard to shake off.
It's clear that Celinda's loss has deeply affected those who knew her. A GoFundMe page has been set up to help her family with funeral costs, and the outpouring of support has been tremendous. People are sharing their memories of Celinda, describing her kindness, her dedication to her work, and her love for her family. It's clear that she was a truly special person who touched the lives of many.
That outpouring of support is a testament to the impact she had on those around her. It's a reminder that even in the face of such senseless violence, there's still a lot of good in the world, a lot of people who care and who are willing to help each other through difficult times.
It's a glimmer of hope in what is otherwise a very dark and tragic situation.
Absolutely. It's truly heartbreaking to think about the life that was lost and the impact on those left behind. This GoFundMe page not only helps with practical matters like funeral costs, but it also serves as a platform for people to share their grief, their memories, and their support for Celinda's family.
That collective grieving is something we see so often in the aftermath. of these tragedies. It speaks to our need to connect, to find solace in shared experiences, and to find meaning in the midst of senselessness.
Absolutely. And this case, in particular, seems to tap into a deeper societal anxiety about safety.
Yeah,
Especially for those in professions like Celinda's, where travel is a regular part of life.
you're right. It makes you wonder about the safety measures that are in place for flight attendants and what more can be done to protect them, not only from potential threats in the air,
Right.
but also during layovers in unfamiliar cities.
This incident might lead to discussions within the industry about enhanced security protocols for flight crews during layovers, potentially including things like increased security at hotels, transportation options that minimize risks, or even self-defense training for flight attendants.
Those are all valid points. It's a stark reminder that safety is a multifaceted issue, that we need to be constantly evaluating and improving the systems we have in place to protect people, especially those in vulnerable positions.
And it's not just about physical safety, but also emotional and psychological well-being. The trauma of this experience will undoubtedly stay with Celinda's colleagues, and it's crucial that they receive the support they need to process what happened and to cope with the emotional fallout.
The Association of Professional Flight Attendants has been vocal about the need for mental health resources for their members, recognizing that incidents like this can have long-lasting effects. And this case will likely bring that issue to the forefront, hopefully leading to greater awareness and more accessible support systems within the industry.
What's fascinating here is how this case brings together so many different threads: personal tragedy, questions of safety and security, the role of unions in protecting their members, the psychological impact of trauma, and the power of community support. It's a reminder that legal cases are never just about the law. They're about people, their lives, and the complex web of relationships and systems that surround them.
You've hit on something really important there. It's easy to get caught up in the legal details, the charges, the evidence. But we must never forget the human element at the heart of every case. Behind the headlines and the courtroom proceedings, there are real people whose lives have been irrevocably changed by the events that unfold.
Exactly. And in this case, we have a victim who dedicated her life to serving others, to making air travel safe and comfortable for passengers. It's a cruel irony that she met her end in such a violent and senseless manner.
The Fox News article mentions that Celinda was a devoted wife to her husband, John, and a loving sister to Melanie. She was deeply involved in the Arabian horse industry, played the flute in concerts, and clearly had a zest for life that extended far beyond her career. It's heartbreaking to think about all the things she'll miss out on, all the experiences she won't get to have.
It highlights the preciousness of life and how quickly things can change. It also makes you think about the ripple effects of this tragedy, and not just on her immediate family, but on the wider community of people whose lives she touched.
It's a reminder to cherish the time we have with our loved ones and to appreciate the small moments that make life meaningful. We never know what tomorrow will bring. In this case, serves as a stark reminder that life can be fleeting and unpredictable.
It's a difficult truth to confront, but it's one that can also motivate us to live more fully, to connect more deeply with others, and to make a positive impact on the world around us. Celinda's legacy will live on in the hearts of those who knew her, and perhaps her story will inspire others to live their lives with purpose and compassion.
Beautifully said. It's a powerful reminder that even in the face of tragedy, we can find meaning and inspiration in the lives of those we've lost.
And as we move forward, I think it's important to keep asking questions about how we can create a safer world, how we can address the root causes of violence, and how we can support those who are affected by it.
I couldn't agree more. This case raises important questions about mental health, societal anxieties, and the systems we have in place to prevent violence. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but it's a conversation that we as a society need to keep having. As we wrap up our deep dive into this case, I keep coming back to the idea of randomness. It's unsettling to think that someone like Celinda, who dedicated her life to helping others, could become a victim of such a seemingly arbitrary act.
It is a natural human response to search for patterns, to try and make sense of the senseless.
Right.
But sometimes there simply isn't a clear explanation, and that can be incredibly difficult to accept.
It certainly is. And it makes you wonder about the role of fate, chance, luck, whatever you want to call it, in our lives.
This raises a really important question about how we as individuals and as a society deal with the inherent unpredictability of life. Do we become overly cautious, fearful of every unknown corner? Or do we try to find a balance between acknowledging the risks while still embracing the beauty and spontaneity that life has to offer?
It's a delicate balance. And there's no right or wrong answer. I think it's about finding what works for each individual, what allows them to feel safe and secure, while still living a full and meaningful life.
And part of that, I think, is about building strong communities where people feel connected and supported. We see that in the outpouring of support for Celinda's family, in the way her colleagues have rallied around each other, and in the efforts of organizations like the Association of Professional Flight Attendants to advocate for better safety measures.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's still a lot of good in the world. There are people who care, who want to help, and who are working to make a difference.
And that's where I find a sense of hope. Hope in the resilience of the human spirit, in the power of compassion, and in our collective ability to learn from these tragedies and work towards a better future.
Well said, Susan. This case has been a tough one to unpack, but it's also been incredibly thought-provoking. It's forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about the world we live in, but it's also highlighted the strength, resilience, and compassion that exists within our communities.
And for our listeners, I hope this deep dive has provided some insights into this complex case, and perhaps even sparked some important conversations about safety, security, and the role of community in dealing with tragedy.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to continue this conversation, please share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. We always appreciate hearing from you.
And if you're new to Courtroom Conversations, be sure to subscribe to the Classic Courtroom YouTube channel. For more fascinating deep dives into the world of true crime and legal cases, hit that like button to let us know you enjoyed this episode.
Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay safe.